I'm Michelle Mendoza. I'm here with Christopher Kelly. He's a historian and author of Italy Invades. From Christopher Columbus to stories of pirates, even tying into American history and the Metropolitan Museum, the story of Italy and their history of invasion has touched the world in ways we may not know unless we pick up the book. Chris, why did you write Italy Invades?
Coming after America Invades, we wanted to go to the grandfather of all empires. We'd already dealt with America, the superpower, and my co-author had dealt with Britain, which was at one time the empire that the sun never set upon. But the model for all of them was really ancient Rome. And there are these deep connections between Rome and the United States today. Romans had a Senate, and we have a Senate. Rome was a republic, and we're a republic. Rome used the eagle as a symbol of their legions, and we, of course, use the eagle as our symbol as well. So there are these connections, this deep connectedness between Italy and America. I'm not Italian, but I have an Italian connection. I am what you call IBM. I'm Italian by marriage. So I've been Italian for 21 years.
Yeah,
now.
I was going to ask you, the name Kelly seems to be more Irish, so the connection goes beyond just your marriage. The idea of Italy invading really has more global interest.
That's right. I mean, people think about Italy cooking and Italy making wine and Italy designing things and Italy making incredible clothing, but they don't think in terms of Italy invading. But we think that they should. There should be a reappraisal of the Italian military impact on the rest of the world, going back all the way to the Romans and right up into the present day.
Let's take it from an American point of view. The very first invasion from Italy to the Americas is one every school child has sung about. In 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. That's what you document as the first invasion of Italy to America.
Columbus was indisputably Italian. He was Genoese. He was the son of a Genoese miller. So he had clear Italian connections. Columbus's voyages, the apocryphal tale is that they were subsidized by the sale of Queen Isabella's jewelry. But in fact, they were financed by Italian bankers. So there was an even deeper connection of Italy to the voyages of Columbus. Columbus did, of course, explore the New World, arrived in islands like Cuba and Santo Domingo in the 15th century. In 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. He was the first major contact of Europeans with the New World.
If you're just joining us, Christopher Kelly is our guest. He is the author of Italy Invades, astounding the influence that invasions really have on the world and even on our own personal world in ways like you have just mentioned. There are stories of piracy here in the United States that ties into Italy. I found that fascinating.
There have been a lot of Italian explorers, Italian pirates. Italians have been a seafaring nation for many years. They used to refer to the Mediterranean as Mare Nostrum, our sea. The Romans referred to it that way. The Italians are an outgoing people. You think about explorers like Christopher Columbus. You think about traders like Marco Polo. You think about John Cabot, who was Giovanni Caboto, who explored up in Canada and was hired by the English to do so. Italians have gotten around the entire world. This book, Italy Invades, How Italians Conquered the World, has a chapter on every country in the world and the Italian influence impact on those countries.
And in our own country, think of the story that you tell about the connection with the U.S. Civil War and Garibaldi.
Sure. That is, I think, a fascinating story. Garibaldi, in 1860, had just conquered Sicily from the Bourbons and helped to unite all of Italy. He was a great Italian patriot, and he was a recognized, successful military leader. That was in 1860. So then 1861 rolls along, and you have Fort Sumter, and Lincoln is challenged by the breakup of the United States, and he is interested in getting military talent to lead the Union Army to victory. Lincoln tries to hire Garibaldi to be a Union general. They were not able to come to terms because Garibaldi, who was something of a radical at the time, insisted upon immediate emancipation of the slaves, which is something that Lincoln was not willing to do in 1861. He did do, of course, in 1863. so they did not come to terms. Nevertheless, many Italians served actually on both sides during the U.S. Civil War. There was, for instance, at Gettysburg, you can find a memorial to the Garibaldi Guard, which is the New York 39th, which was not entirely composed of Italians, but had many Italians serving in it, in this unit that fought in the Civil War.
It's fascinating, and I teased this at the beginning of this segment because this story that you can find, along with many others, in Italy Invades really impacted me. It shocked me. The connection with Italian invasion and the Metropolitan Museum.
Sure. There was a gentleman by the name of Luigi Palma di Cesnola, and he was a colonel in the Union cavalry during the U.S. Civil War. He had risen to distinction, serving at a number of different battles, had come to Lincoln's attention, and Lincoln wanted to reward him. And so he rewarded him by making him the American consul to Cyprus after the war. De Palma moved to Cyprus, and he started collecting things. Cyprus is an island in the Mediterranean that has been itself invaded many times by the Romans, by the Greeks, by the Italians, etc. But de Cesnola began amassing this collection, and he brought this collection back to his native New York. He was the gentleman who founded the Metropolitan Museum and was its first director for many years.
It's so fascinating. And as you listen today, think of the influence that Italy may have had on the world. Then wonder for just a moment, are there stories that you have not heard, like this one I'm going to ask you about, Chris? Giovanni Martini.
Giovanni Martini was an Italian who served in the Italian army, who emigrated to the United States, and he joined the United States Army, and he served in Custer's 7th Cavalry. And he was there at the Battle of Little Bighorn in 1876, and he was Custer's bugler at the time. Because he was Custer's bugler, Custer sent him with his very last message asking for help and assistance. As a result of that, Giovanni Martini actually survived, was one of the only ones to survive that battle. The battle took place in 1876. In 1922, Giovanni Martini was hit by a beer truck in Brooklyn and killed.
So he survived the Battle of Little Bighorn.
Right.
And was killed by a beer truck in the last century.
That's right. We all have to go sometime.
Astounding stories. You also say in the book that Italy may have gotten an unfair rap about their military history. How so?
My co-author and I both feel strongly that Italy has had a bad rap. Italian military history has a much richer and deeper background than it has been portrayed, which stems largely from their defeat during World War II. In fact, there have been many Italian successes.
And the impact is amazing when we think of the influence of Italy in the world from the time of the Roman Empire, which we all know is renowned, to today. Your book takes it as a compilation, country by country, and each one reads like a short story of history like I never experienced when I was in school. It brings it to life and connects us with individual stories. It brings history to today. Maybe helps us to be a better people when we understand it. And that's why I think Italy Invades is such an important book. I want to thank you so much, Christopher Kelly, for being with us.
Thank you, Michelle.